June and Hannah stood at the entrance of the Galactic Academy of Science, trying to look calm. It was their first day as the only humans at the most prestigious school in the known universe. They could feel the stares from hundreds of alien students. "Remember what the ambassador said," Hannah whispered to June. "We represent all of Earth here." June nodded. His muscles tensed under his uniform. After years of training and tests, they had earned these spots, but now he wondered if they truly belonged. The atrium was massive, with ceilings that stretched up at least 30 meters. Light filtered through crystal panels, creating rainbow patterns on the polished stone floor. Students from over 50 planets moved through the space, some walking, others floating, and a few rolling on specialized apparatus. "I didn't expect to feel so heavy here," Hannah said quietly. Though the gravity was actually lighter than Earth's, the weight of being different pressed down on them both. 3 small hovering orbs approached them, scanning their bodies with soft blue light. Identity confirmed. "Welcome, Terrans June Kim and Hannah Park. Please proceed to Orientation Hall 6, the central orb announced. As they walked through the crowd, conversations hushed. A group of thin, 6-limbed aliens with iridescent skin tracked their movement with large compound eyes. "Those are the Deathworlders," one of them, named Tech, said to his friends. "I studied their planet. They endure seasons of extreme heat and cold. They can survive temperatures that would boil our blood." His friend Lim stretched one of her middle limbs nervously. "I heard their bones are made of actual calcium deposits, like rocks inside their bodies." "How primitive," another whispered. "And dangerous." In Orientation Hall 6, students sat on adaptive cushions that molded to their various body shapes. Professor Lee, a respected xenobiologist with 4 arms and smooth blue skin, moved to the front of the room. "Welcome to Advanced Xenobiology and Cultural Studies," he said, his translator rendering his words into Standard Galactic. "This year brings us a historic first. Students from Sol 3, known to its inhabitants as Earth." All eyes turned to June and Hannah. "As part of our commitment to true galactic understanding, our term project will examine training methodologies across species. You will work in mixed groups to compare how different worlds prepare their young for survival and advancement." The class broke into assigned groups. June and Hannah found themselves with Tech, Rin, a translucent jellyfish-like being who floated in a small anti-gravity field, and Dole, a stocky, 4-eyed creature with metallic scales. "Let's start with basic educational approaches," suggested Dole, who seemed the most comfortable with the humans. They exchanged information about early learning systems, finding surprising similarities despite their different biologies. Then the conversation shifted to specialized training. "On my world, we spend 3 cycles in simulation chambers to prepare for professional roles," Tech explained. "The neural inputs are carefully calibrated to avoid any stress responses." Rin pulsed with blue light. "Similar for us. All dangerous variables are removed from training. Safety is paramount." June nodded. "We use simulations too, especially for complex procedures. But for military and emergency response training, we eventually moved to live exercises." "Live?" Rin's translucent body rippled with confusion. "Yes," June continued, not noticing the change in the atmosphere. "For example, in combat medic training, we practice treating wounds while under actual fire. Not aimed at us directly, of course, but real ammunition flying overhead and hitting nearby targets." Silence fell over the group. Tech's limbs pulled in close to his body in what seemed to be a protective posture. "You train with actual projectile weapons, not simulations." Rin's voice came through the translator with unusual static, suggesting emotional distress. Hannah looked confused by their reaction. Of course. How else would soldiers learn to maintain focus under real conditions? But the danger. Dole's metallic scales flattened against his body. "Training should not risk life. It's controlled risk," Hannah explained. "The point is to learn how to function under stress. to make dangerous situations feel familiar so you don't freeze when they happen for real. The aliens exchanged troubled glances. Tech's skin had lost some of its iridescence. On our world, he said slowly, we have eliminated all need for such primitive responses. No one should ever feel fear during learning. As the discussion continued, other nearby groups fell silent, listening in. Word spread quickly through the alien students about the strange and frightening humans who deliberately exposed themselves to danger as a teaching method. By the end of class, June and Hannah realized they had unintentionally caused quite a stir. What seemed normal to them appeared barbaric to their classmates. And this was just day one. I think, June said quietly as they left the hall, we have a lot more to learn about each other than I expected. 3 days after their first class, June entered the Academy's common room to find a crowd of alien students gathered around the main screen. He saw Hannah already there, looking uncomfortable. What's happening? He asked, pushing gently through the group. On the screen, footage showed human soldiers in training. They wore helmets and body armor as they crawled through mud under barbed wire. Loud cracks filled the air as bullets hit the ground near them. The soldiers kept moving, faces intense but focused. The room was completely silent except for the video's audio. Some alien students had moved away from the screen, their bodies showing signs of distress. Others leaned forward, unable to look away. Where did you get this? June asked, recognizing standard Earth military training exercises. De, a crystalline being who communicated through pulses of light, turned toward him. The patterns flashing across Da's transparent body translated as words. Public Earth broadcasts. Is this real? Not entertainment fiction. It's real, Hannah confirmed. Basic training for most military forces. Murmurs spread through the room. A small green alien with 6 eyes blinked them rapidly in sequence. This can't be standard practice, Da flashed, the patterns showing agitation. They're risking death during training. The risk is very small, June tried to explain. The bullets are aimed to miss by a safe margin. But they are real bullets, asked a floating gas cloud being. Not light projections or harmless substitutes. Yes, they're real, Hannah said. That's the point. The brain needs to believe the danger is real. That evening, June and Hannah received a formal message on their room terminals. Tai, a careful, shell-backed student who resembled an earth mollusk, had organized an official inquiry meeting. This is getting out of hand, Hannah said, reading the message. They're treating us like we've done something wrong. They're just scared, June replied. Wouldn't you be if you found out a new species enjoyed activities that would kill you? The next day, 20 aliens of various species crowded into a small meeting room. June and Hannah sat at the front, feeling like they were on trial. We appreciate your willingness to discuss this matter, Ta began formally, his shell shifting slightly as he spoke. Many students are concerned that human training practices may violate the Academy's safety protocols. We're not suggesting implementing these practices here, Hannah clarified quickly. Still, we must understand these methods, said a tall, thin alien with 4 arms. The footage suggests deliberate endangerment of trainees. June took a deep breath. On Earth, we call it stress inoculation. The controlled exposure to danger improves performance when real danger comes. But why risk harm at all? Asked a spherical being who floated near the ceiling. Surely simulations could achieve the same learning outcomes. They don't, June said firmly. The body and brain respond differently to actual danger. Real stress triggers hormonal responses that can't be fully replicated in simulations. Is this limited to military personnel? Tai asked, his eye stalks extending with interest. No, Hannah explained. Firefighters train in actual burning buildings. Search and rescue teams practice in real wilderness with real weather conditions. Astronauts train underwater to simulate space. Even your medical responders train this way, asked Ta, seeming both horrified and fascinated. Especially them, Hannah said. When you're treating injuries during a disaster, You can't afford to freeze up. Our emergency doctors practice procedures while tired, while surrounded by noise and chaos, sometimes even in darkness. The room fell silent as the aliens processed this information. A small blue being finally spoke. On our world, we eliminated the need for such methods 3,000 years ago. All dangerous environments are fully controlled or managed through automation. Same with most worlds in the Galactic Union, added another. We evolved past the need for danger responses. That must be nice, Jum said with a small smile. Earth still has earthquakes, storms, volcanoes, things we can't control. We have to be ready. An unexpected voice joined the conversation. It came from Gil, a quiet student from a high-gravity world somewhat similar to Earth. My people also train with elements of danger, Gil admitted. Not weapons, but environmental challenges. It is necessary for species from difficult worlds. This revelation caused more murmurs. The aliens began to see this wasn't just a human oddity, but perhaps something common to what they called Deathworlders. As the meeting continued, the tone shifted from accusation to curiosity. The alien students began asking more detailed questions about specific training methods. Would you? Ta began hesitantly. Would you be willing to demonstrate a modified version of human training? Something safe enough for academy grounds, but that shows the principle. Jun and Hannah exchanged looks. I think we could arrange that, Jun said, but you might not like what you see. We need to understand, Dad flashed, colors shifting to indicate determination. If humans can function under conditions that would disable most of us, we should learn why. As they left the meeting, Hannah nudged Jun. Did you notice? They went from thinking we're dangerous to thinking we're fascinating. Progress, Jun agreed. But wait until they see what we actually do. The Academy's main training hall buzzed with nervous energy. Word had spread quickly about the human demonstration, drawing a crowd larger than expected. Nearly 200 students and faculty members packed the viewing area, their diverse bodies creating a living tapestry of alien life. Academy Director Jun stood with the senior staff, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of concern in his species. I remind everyone that this demonstration has been modified for safety, he announced. No actual weapons will be used. Jun stood at the entrance to the training area, dressed in simple exercise clothes. He had spent the past 2 days designing a course that would demonstrate human training methods without terrifying his alien classmates. I've reduced the intensity by about 80%, he assured the administrators. This is basically what human children might experience in an advanced emergency drill. Director Jun's skin darkened, the equivalent of a frown. Even at that level, our medical team will monitor all life signs. The training hall's holographic systems activated, transforming the empty space into a simulated disaster zone. Rubble appeared to block pathways. Smoke effects reduced visibility. In the center lay 3 training dummies programmed to display various injuries. The goal is to reach all patients, stabilize them, and evacuate within the time limit, Jun explained to the audience. Under normal conditions, we would add actual heat, actual weight to the debris, and much louder noises. Hannah stood with the observers, answering questions. This is standard for emergency response training. Firefighters, medical teams, and rescue workers all train similarly. A timer appeared in the air. Jun took a deep breath and nodded. The simulation began. Immediately, flashing red lights strobed across the area. A deafening alarm blared, though at only 20% of Earth training volume. The floor beneath Jun's feet vibrated, simulating aftershocks from an earthquake. The audience flinched collectively. Several floating species dropped slightly in the air from shock, but their eyes remained fixed on Jun. He moved with purpose, navigating the obstacle course with smooth efficiency. When he reached the first dummy, his hands moved quickly, applying bandages and simulated medications. Despite the noise and chaos around him, his movements remained precise. Notice how his precision actually improves under pressure, Hannah explained to the stunned audience. His hands are steadier now than when he started. That cannot be correct, said Professor Kell, his tentacles wrapping tightly around his datapad. Stress hormones should decrease fine motor control. In untrained individuals, yes, Hannah agreed. But humans can adapt to stress. With proper training, moderate stress improves performance. June moved to the second dummy as the simulation intensified. Water now sprayed from damaged pipes. The lighting shifted to emergency red. He continued working, his face showing intense concentration but no panic. His vital signs are unusual, noted the medical officer monitoring the demonstration. Heart rate elevated but within controlled parameters. Brain activity shows heightened focus rather than fear response. When June finished with all 3 dummies, the simulation ended. The audience remained silent, processing what they had witnessed. Would anyone like to attempt a modified version? Director Jun asked. We can reduce the intensity further for different physiologies. Most aliens shrank back, but one stepped forward. It was Brave Sun, a plant-based student known for academic courage. His name was well-earned. He regularly volunteered for challenging assignments. I would like to try, he said, his leaf-like appendages waving with determination. My species prides itself on adaptability. The medical team attached monitoring sensors to Brave Sun's central stem. June reconfigured the simulation, reducing intensity by another 50%. Just focus on reaching the first dummy, June suggested. Don't worry about the medical procedures. Brave Sun nodded, his leaves stretching in preparation. The simulation began with much gentler parameters, softer lights, quieter sounds, minimal movement. Within 7 seconds, Brave Sun's leaves curled tightly inward. His normally bright green color dulled to a protective brown. He froze completely, unable to move or communicate. The medical team rushed in, immediately ending the simulation. It took nearly 5 minutes for Brave Sun to recover enough to speak. This is how you kill my species, he said shakily, his translator barely picking up his faint chemical signals. Our evolutionary response to danger is complete shutdown. We hide, become dormant. We cannot function in chaos. June knelt beside the still trembling plant being. I understand. Different evolutionary paths. But you became more effective, Brave Sun said, wonder in his voice, as if the danger fed you somehow. In a way, it does, Jun replied gently. This is how you protect your species. This is how we save ours. After the demonstration, the academy hallways filled with excited discussion. Most alien students kept a slightly greater distance from the humans, but their eyes followed them with new interest. Are all humans like this? Tech asked Hannah during their next class. Most respond well to training, she explained, but some better than others. I'm not as good in crisis as June. He has natural talent plus years of practice. Professor Lee changed his curriculum that same day, adding a new section, Evolutionary Adaptations to Environmental Stress, Comparison of Crisis Responses Across Species. As June and Hannah left class, Director Jun approached them. An educational experience for us all, he said formally, though I hope we never need such skills in reality. June smiled politely, but didn't respond. Earth's history had taught humans that crisis was never a question of if, only when. The Academy research vessel Exploration hummed quietly as it traveled through space. 30 students from various planets had been selected for the routine stellar observation mission. The ship would take them to observe a binary star system, allowing them to collect data for their astrophysics projects. June and Hannah sat in the observation deck with the others, watching the stars streak by. After the training demonstration 3 weeks earlier, their relationships with their classmates had become more complex. Some students kept their distance, while others asked endless questions about human abilities. The sensor arrays will deploy in about 2 hours, explained Captain Lawn, a veteran spacer with metallic skin. Until then, you may explore the ship or rest in your quarters. Hannah noticed how relaxed everyone seemed. The Academy's vessels were known for their safety. Most students treated these trips as pleasure cruises rather than scientific expeditions. 6 hours into the journey, Jun was in the small ship library reading about alien physiology when he felt a slight shudder run through the ship. Then another, stronger one. His body tensed automatically. The alarm sounded a moment later, 3 short pulses followed by a long tone. The library display instantly changed to show ship status. Alert. Hull breach. DDTCTE. Multiple MICRO meteor. AMPDCTs. Proceed to emergency stations. Jun was moving before the message finished scrolling. He rushed into the corridor where students were emerging from various rooms, many looking confused. Suddenly, the lights went out. When they came back on, they glowed red, emergency power only. The ship shuddered again. Life support failing in sectors 3 through 7, announced the ship's computer. Oxygen levels decreasing. Temperature control offline. Jun felt the change immediately. The air became noticeably thinner. The temperature dropped rapidly. He could see his breath forming small clouds. Around him, the alien students reacted in various ways, none helpful. Tech's 6 limbs locked in place, his eyes wide and unseeing. Brave Sun's leaves curled completely inward, entering the same protective shutdown Jun had seen during the training exercise. 2 floating gas-based students compressed themselves into tight balls, their normal communication lights gone dark. The ship's crew members didn't fare much better. Their movements were slow and uncoordinated. One dropped a repair kit, tools scattering across the floor. Pressure dropping in main corridor, the computer warned, seals failing between compartments. Jun spotted Hannah running toward him from the science lab. Their eyes met, and without words, they both understood the situation was dire. Everyone to the central chamber, Hannah commanded, her voice unnaturally calm and loud enough to cut through the panic. It's the most protected area. Move now. When several students remained frozen, she physically began guiding them, her movements precise despite the increasingly thin air. Jun, seal the forward compartments, she called out. I'll stabilize life support. They moved with practiced efficiency, years of drills and training taking over. Jun's mind cleared, external concerns falling away. There was only the task, the next step, the solution. He ran to the maintenance panel, pulled it open, and quickly assessed the damage. 3 main circuits were fried, and the backup systems were failing to engage properly. I need wire, insulation, and a power regulator, he said to a nearby crew member who stood trembling. The crew member stared blankly, so Jun simply pushed past him and gathered what he needed himself. Using a pocket tool, he began bypassing damaged systems and creating new connections. Meanwhile, Hannah had reached the environmental controls. Her fingers flew across the panel, rerouting power to critical life support functions. When one approach failed, she immediately tried another without hesitation or frustration. Manually seal all doors between sections 8 and 12. She ordered the few functioning crew members. We need to contain the breathable air. Gil, a normally unflappable gelatinous being known for academic excellence, hovered nearby, his body quivering uncontrollably. How are you functioning? He gasped, watching Jun work on a complex circuit while alarms blared around them. I cannot think clearly. My processes are shutting down. This is what we trained for, Jun said without looking up from the circuit panel. Focus narrows under threat. Everything else falls away. Within 20 minutes, Jun had restored power to the emergency systems. Hannah had managed to stabilize life support in the central areas of the ship. They worked together to seal off compromised sections and redistribute resources. The temperature slowly began to rise back to survivable levels. Oxygen concentration increased enough for normal breathing. As the immediate danger passed, the alien students gradually recovered from their various protective states. Captain Lon approached the humans, his metallic face unable to show expression, but his voice carried clear admiration. In 15 years of space travel, I have never seen such performance under pressure, he said. You saved this vessel and everyone aboard. Day, the crystalline student, flashed messages of awe as his functions returned. You became better in crisis, not worse, just as you demonstrated. We did not truly understand until now. As emergency systems stabilized and the rescue beacon brought help within range, the alien students gathered around the two humans. Their fear had been replaced by something new: respect. On my world, said Ta, his shell now relaxed, we have systems to prevent all emergencies. But we never learned what to do when prevention fails. Hannah nodded, finally allowing herself to feel the exhaustion. That's the difference. On Earth, we know systems always fail eventually, so we prepare humans instead. The rescue ships arrived 6 hours after the exploration sent its distress signal. By then, the worst of the crisis had passed, thanks largely to the two humans aboard. The disabled vessel was towed back to the academy, where engineering teams began extensive repairs. News of what happened spread quickly through the station. Students and faculty gathered in groups, discussing the details with growing amazement. The official ship logs confirmed what witnesses reported. While most beings aboard had become incapacitated, the humans had performed with remarkable efficiency. 3 days after their return, Director Jin called an emergency meeting of the Academy's governing council. The large circular chamber filled with representatives from each department and species group. We must acknowledge an uncomfortable truth, Director Jin began, his 4 eyes blinking slowly. Our safety protocols, while impressive on paper, have created a vulnerability in practice. The human's performance during crisis has demonstrated an approach we must consider adopting. Several council members shifted uncomfortably. Professor Kell, who had initially been most disturbed by human training methods, spoke up. I have reviewed the incident recordings multiple times. The data is clear. When emergency systems failed, so did most of our biological responses. Only the humans maintained functional capacity. The debate lasted for hours. Some argued that changing established safety protocols would dishonor thousands of years of peaceful progress. Others insisted that survival required adaptation. We need not adopt human methods exactly, suggested Professor Lee. But we can learn from their principle of preparation through controlled exposure. 1 month later, the Academy launched its new emergency response training program. Customized for each species' biological limitations, it introduced students to progressively challenging situations. Simulation intensity increased gradually, teaching them to function under moderate stress before advancing. For species like brave suns, whose bodies shut down completely under threat, they developed cognitive techniques to delay the response long enough to reach safety. For others, like Tex people, they created special movement drills to overcome limb blocking during surprise events. Hana and Jun found themselves unexpectedly popular. The Academy appointed them as special instructors for a new required course, Crisis Psychology and Performance. Their first class filled within minutes of being announced. We don't expect you to train with live ammunition, Hana told her diverse students on the first day. But every species can learn to expand their functional threshold during emergencies. Jun demonstrated simple breathing techniques that helped maintain clear thinking when oxygen levels change. Your body has natural responses to danger. We're not trying to eliminate those responses. They evolved to protect you. We're just training you to work with them, rather than be controlled by them. Students practiced in specially designed simulation chambers, where conditions could be adjusted for different physiologies. Even Brave Sun made progress, learning to keep his leaves unfolded for crucial extra seconds during a crisis. I managed to press the emergency button before shutting down, he announced proudly after one successful session. Those seconds could save others of my kind. Professor Lee's research team studied the differences in how various species responded to stress. Their published paper, Comparative Crisis Response Across Biological Systems, became required reading across the galaxy. It proposed a revolutionary theory that safety-focused civilizations might actually be endangering themselves by eliminating all exposure to controlled risk. The paper was controversial but impossible to ignore after the exploration incident. Several other academic institutions began implementing similar training programs. By the end of the academic year, the changes at the academy were remarkable. Emergency drills, once treated as boring formalities, became serious exercises. Students from traditionally peaceful worlds developed new respect for species from challenging environments. During the year-end ceremony, Tai approached the humans. His shell had been decorated with the Academy's honor markings for his work, helping adapt emergency protocols for mollusk-type species. He extended his eye stalks in the traditional gesture of deep respect. "We still think your world is terrifying," the mollusk admitted. "But we understand now that terror itself can be a teacher." June smiled. "That might be the most human thing I've ever heard a non-human say." Later that evening, Hannah and Jun stood at the observation deck, watching the stars. Behind them, students from 20 worlds practiced emergency communications with new seriousness. "When we came here, I thought we were just representing Earth," Hannah said quietly. "I never expected to change how the galaxy thinks about training." "Humans are good at surviving," Jun replied. "Now we're teaching others to survive too." In the distance, a new ship prepared for departure, the rebuilt Exploration. Its crew now included specialists from multiple worlds, all trained in the new emergency protocols. Among its emergency equipment were items inspired by Earth methods, marked with the Academy's new motto, "Prepare in peace for crisis in chaos." The greatest lesson had been learned. Throughout the galaxy, beings from peaceful worlds were discovering what humans had known for centuries, that facing small dangers willingly was the best protection against the large dangers that came unwelcomed. The end.